Welcome to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, enjoy this journey, and enjoy this ride. Welcome to this week's episode. Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have an interesting guest on today. This is like part 2 of my New Beginnings life after divorce. My guest today, she has actually been married 4 times, but 3 on paper and 1 common law.
Right.
And we're gonna talk. We're going to talk about life after being divorced, because also I'm going to ask her why she says dating sucks today, which a lot of women do say dating sucks today. But
It does.
before that, right? But before that, before I bring her on, life after divorce, everybody. There's a couple of things I want to let you guys know. It brings plenty of changes, right? You
Definitely.
got the empty house, a new household.
hmm
You go through co-parenting. Spending days and months without them for the first time. So we're gonna go through that as well.
hmm
One income. Her specialty, what she's gonna get into while she hates it, dating again. Uh, some of the things that people go through: sex with a new person, getting to know a new person, and their habits and personalities. Which she says she has not found that yet. Amber, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Great. All right, first and foremost, I'm gonna ask you, how's your Sunday going with your little cup of coffee right now?
It's going good, nice and quiet so far. I'm up here in the Midwest with all those storms, so we just kind of batten down the hatches and pray it flies over soon.
Nah, you gonna be fine. You gonna be
Yeah.
fine. Trust me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of life after divorce. If you want to see part 1 of this, go on my season 1 here on YouTube. Episode 37. My girl Tyra, she was on there. She has a great story about that. And also, I want to add too to she's been married 4 times, 3 on paper, 1 by commonwealth. She's gonna talk about she has been a widow twice. So we also gonna
Twice.
talk about that as well. If you want to see my widow story, go on, season 1, episode 32. Kim Gamble, she has an amazing story about being a widow. She also like that. You will love that. Amber, we gonna get into your story. You have a very interesting story. Uh, 4 times married, 3
hmm
on paper, 1 commonwealth. So let's start off with number 1.
Okay.
And how old was you when you first got married?
I was 18,
18. All
fresh out of high
right.
school. I didn't even go to my senior prom because the logic wasn't there. I wasn't going to pay money for a prom dress when I just sunk $300 into a wedding dress.
Oh crap. So I got assuming you guys were dating, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. So why do you think you got married at 18?
Back then, it was a logical thing to do in that mind space. That's all I saw. I grew up in a religious home, um, and that was just kind of the thing to do, the responsible thing to
Yeah.
do, make everything look nice and pretty on paper and on, the whole pretty picture thing. And that's all I
Okay.
knew. I came from a 2 generations of death to you part marriages.
Okay.
So that's all I saw at the time. That's all I knew.
So your mother and father, so they was okay with this. They was all
Uh-huh.
gun ho for it.
Yeah.
So I assume your mother and father got married at an early age too.
My mom was, I believe, in her early 20s, and I believe my dad was in his latter 20s.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 18 years old, you missed your senior prom for your wedding dress. First and
Mm-hmm.
foremost, how'd you look on that day? How'd you look?
We just went through a whole bunch of pictures here not too long ago. My mother just recently passed away about a couple months ago. So
Sorry.
we were going through all the pictures and everything, and you know what? Back then I looked pretty good. I looked happy,
Oh,
ish,
ish.
ish.
Okay. So b- before you deep diving into that a little bit, your first one, how many years was you married in the first one?
Not quite 2 years.
Not quite 2 years.
Hmm.
So in a brief one, why do you think it only lasted for 2 years?
We were young and dumb, plain and simple.
Wow.
It was a thing of we were very immature. We had no idea what we were jumping into. Both of us were. He was not much older than I think he was 21, 22,
Okay.
and we just had not experienced life as we thought we had. And
Okay. So 2 years, two
mhm,
years into this, who initiated the divorce? You or him?
I did.
Okay. That is crazy because, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of 2025, which is this year, the probability of the first year marriages ending in divorce is 41% this year.
Hmm.
Okay. Women are more likely to initiate divorce by 64% to 31%.
I can believe it.
And in a quick overview, Amber, if you feel comfortable talking about, why did you, is there a certain reason why you ended it, or is that private?
Um, I just felt like there was overall. Like I said, we were both very immature. We both made mistakes. We both it was not what we had signed up for. And then towards the end, there was a lot of people in the marriage. There was, counselors and pastors and all that, and they were given a lot of advice, a lot of like back and forth, a lot of you should have done this or you should do this or you should that, and I couldn't even hear my own voice at that point, and so I just,
Wow.
yeah.
All right. So after your first marriage, how was your support system with that, with your parents and family and friends?
Um, they were okay. I had just right after my divorce, right after the separation part, I had just landed my dream job.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so instead of running back home, I stayed. I stayed in town. I stayed in the area and pursued my dream job, which led to number two.
Okay.
But
Before we get to
yeah.
before we get to number two,
Mhm.
the first time you was alone after your first divorce, the first time after it was or separated or said and done or whatever, when you was alone, do you remember what you was thinking at that point? Was you sad? Was you happy? Was you ready to go on? Because cause that would kind of dictate what's going to happen in the future.
I felt a sense of relief from
Okay.
all the stress. Alone, I wasn't too much alone because I was kind of bouncing around from friend to friend when in my little support system I had back then.
Okay.
But yeah, I felt a big sense of like a lot of weight off my shoulders on that one. That
Okay.
I could kind of breathe and be me.
All right.
And
So before we get on to number two, tell
mhm,
me in a brief um little story, right? Because it'll give me a better idea who you are.
mhm.
How, before you coming up as a kid all the way up to a teenager, how was that upbringing for you?
Again, I grew up in a very religious household. My mom was always in church, doing something in church. I grew up my teenage years in the youth group. That
Mm,
during the summer times I was a church camp most of the summers. That's where I met
okay.
number one.
So you
Yeah.
was basically like a good church girl.
Mhm. Yep.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Now we'll get interesting. So what was your dream job that you land before you met number two?
My dream job was to be a horse trainer.
Really?
Yeah. Not too
Did you
many
grow up
people
around
know that about
horses?
me. Yeah. Yeah, I grew up. The farm right next door to me had horses. He was a trainer for a long, long time, and so whenever I couldn't be found, they would call the barn. That's where I was. Cleaning
Really?
stalls, yeah, grooming horses, watching, learning, riding, all that. Mhm.
Wow. Do you remember that the first time you rode a horse?
Mhm. I was 6.
Was you scared or nothing like
No,
that? You
no,
just
no.
pretty.
Put me on it. No, no.
I love that. I love that. Do you still ride horses today?
Not as often. I actually just took both my daughters horseback riding a couple weeks ago. We went out to a little trail ranch not too far from here, and we spent the day out there, and it was a blast.
Okay. All right. So number one is done.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your dream job working with horses. So I guess that's how we met number two. So how did
That
you meet number two?
he was my boss.
Yeah. Okay. All right, continue. I got to hear this one.
Yeah. See, at the time, I was just working a part-time job at this little diner, little homegrown diner place, and he was one of my regulars. And I just happened to mention that I was looking for extra work because I was about to get divorced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
Yeah.
he goes, "Well, I have a barn full of 5 that I don't have time for."
Okay.
And
Wow.
yeah, so he literally just handed it to me.
Okay. So you're starting to work there.
Hmm.
And so when did you guys start like talking or conversating about like getting together? How'd that happen?
I don't think we didn't even have that conversation. It just kind of happened.
Okay. So I guess it was that traction or whatever.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
okay.
it just happened. That was my common law marriage. We never actually did. Um, we didn't have a wedding or anything like that.
Okay.
There was quite a bit of age difference between us. I'll just leave it at that.
Mm. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah.
All right. So how many years was I guess common law is over 7, 8 years, I think it is. It depends on
I
the
don't
state.
I don't remember um what the exact number was back then. I'm in Indiana, so
Okay. All right.
um
But you guys were together how long?
we were together for 9.5 years.
Okay. All right. All right. So 9.5 years. So
Mm-hmm.
what happened when it was over? If you could talk about that.
Um, I left, and because he was very narcissistic, and in
Okay.
in
So
those.
1 second.
Mhm.
Now this was how many years ago was this? You think?
This was, see, I left him in '07.
Okay, because you know that narcissistic word now is very popular, right?
Mhm.
Did you know what that word meant back then?
No, I did not. No, it wasn't until a few years ago where I started hearing that term, and then started hearing the definition. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what that was.
Wow, it is crazy. I'm glad you
Mhm.
said that because a lot of us didn't know that term,
Mm-mm.
and it seemed like I think like we've all been through it in one way or the other. But okay, go ahead. So he had narcissistic tendencies. Go ahead.
Yeah, very much so. To where very much so, where he is very paranoid, very through the years, I can look back now, and so through the years my chain came being a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter, to
Hmm.
where I wasn't good enough to marry, because he didn't want me taking his business or being his financial business and all that kind of stuff. And
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
we had
Oh.
yeah, we had 2 kids.
Okay.
Hmm. And then
Okay. All right.
and my son's now 25, and my daughter's now almost 21.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now I'm not gonna get too much of your business because a lot of people don't need to know that.
Hmm.
Um, But looking back on it now, when you said that, you felt you wasn't good enough to marry and to
Hmm.
take on the business, and you had two kids by this man,
Right.
what? So looking back on it now, how do you feel about it now, personally?
Man, I would have done things a whole lot different. I would have
Mm,
done things a whole lot
okay.
different. I would have been more independent, more
Hmm.
um, more on my, I won't say on my own, but do more for myself. I became, I had it all. I mean, I had, I was doing all the housewife things. I was the eye candy when we
Hmm.
went to, you know, certain places. And but to do it differently now, looking back, I would have been a little more, you know, self-achieving, not just
Yeah.
pour all myself into him and his needs, but I would have been more uh yeah, more into myself and more self-confident.
Okay.
I was 21 at the time. I was 21 when I'm yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it was like you said you met him right after your first one. I got you.
Yeah, I was just 20, and I turned 21 just shortly after I had my son.
Okay. Why do you feel, looking back on it now, that it was back to back so soon at that age?
Again, that was all
Or
I
that
knew.
was a trend?
That was all I
Got you.
knew. Yeah, I didn't know how to be alone. That was scary. I was a young 20-year-old girl, and like I said, that was the right thing to do. So yeah, I didn't know anything different. I didn't know how to be
Amber,
alone, how to be independent, how to be by myself.
Amber, I could tell you right now, and while I was in my 20s, and well, I mean, God knows, it's a long story with that one, but actually, I have an episode coming out next week on that one. But what I learned, I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of it. I learned I couldn't be alone either. I was
Hmm.
bouncing from person to person to person, well, different reasons. I mean, like, 20-year-old in the city, I mean, that's back in the day. I mean,
Hmm.
back in the 90s. So, I mean,
That was like 2 weeks
you
ago,
know,
right?
well, whatever. I'm good, trust me. It took me a long time to define a relationship, my man. God knows I'm so happy about it.
Mm.
I can tell you, being alone was not something I could not do. And
Right.
I know what you're feeling. So,
Felt.
so you said 9.5 years. So I guess you was
Hmm.
like 30ish, young 30s, right?
I was late 20s still.
Late 20s. Okay,
Hmm.
late 20s. So you decided, okay, I'm good. I'm done. I'm going to move on. Did you stay single for a little bit, or that's when we get into number three? Or oh shit, okay, all right. So what happened after number two, where you say, okay, I'm out.
Hmm.
I got two kids to raise. I'm going to take care of my kids. So I'm assuming, and you move on. So what happened after you moved on for number two?
I had gotten a job, my first job in 9.5 years, in the
Mhm.
corporate world. I
Okay.
was a front desk clerk for a steel company,
Mhm.
and in the midst of just starting over, midst of starting over, new place, kind of getting my bearings, new atmosphere, new people, new life,
Mhm.
and it wasn't easy because that's when I was by myself. That was when I really my parents were like 3.5 hours away, so that was you know so I literally had to learn to manage myself, manage paying bills, manage my kids. Um, my kid's custody situation was not a good one, because
Mhm.
he was older, because in the middle of our separation he came into quite a large inheritance.
Oh, oh boy.
All
Oh shit.
right.
Oh shit.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended up, in a nutshell, he ended up primarily raising my two older kids, just
Okay.
out of just, I won't say out of spite, but he wanted that role, and I was the quote unquote, I was the dad. I had my weekends, I had my visits, I had, the holidays, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
got you.
and
I
so,
totally get it.
yeah, but with nothing wrong, they've said that, well, the family court system's a mama's court. No, it is not.
That's what I thought it was, but
No,
man, you the third person who told me something similar to that.
I mean, I walked in that court. The only thing I did wrong was I walked in that courtroom without a lawyer. I had
Mm,
all my ducks in a row. This is the gal that I had no criminal record. I had no drug history. I had no, I didn't even hardly have a parking ticket at that matter. I had my own
yeah.
place. I had a job. I was employed. I had a vehicle.
Mm,
I mean, there was nothing wrong with me. On paper, there
okay.
was absolutely, but still, just because of the fact that I walked in that courtroom with no lawyer because I couldn't afford it because I was trying to pay my bills.
Trust me, I get it. Amber, at this time when you was going through all that, right? But before you met number three,
Mhm.
did you have conversations with your parents about this or
Mhm.
friends? Like, did they kind of guide you through this? What did they say to you at this time?
There really wasn't a whole lot of advice. Just take it one day at a time and do your best. You know,
Mm.
good luck to you. It's a,
That's a lot to go through, girl. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. That's a lot to go through. That's a lot
yeah,
to
it
go
is.
through.
Oh, that ain't even
So, so,
half of
so
it. That's the easy stuff.
oh god. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. You told me we'd probably been here for like days if
They,
you
we,
explain
I could
everything.
do. I mean, man, look.
Hey, trust me, I get it. So when did you get to the point? So how long was it between number two and number three?
I met number three at the job that I was working. Uh, he
The corporate
was,
job.
yeah. hmm
Okay.
I was the front desk clerk, answering phones and directing people where they needed to go. And
Yeah.
he was kind of a triple threat. He was one of the plant managers that worked in the back of the plant. He was the head interpreter and the in-house nurse. Because 95% of the plant was Hispanic, 95% of the office was not,
Okay.
and so I had to call him quite a bit because I had applicants come in my office and wanting to fill out an application, do an interview. I'd have to call him. Hey, can you come, interpret? Can you come handle this, whatever?
Yeah.
And so he had to come from the back of the plant where his office was, change his shoes,
Hmm.
come out, deal with him, go back, and it was quite an interruption for him. So I said, hey, why don't you teach me some Spanish so I can help you out? There'll be less of
Gotcha.
this, less of you back and
Hmm.
forth. There's something that I could do to help contribute to, your efficiency. Well, yeah, I learned some
Okay.
Spanish. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, he was Dominican,
Mm.
and
I know about those cats. I know about those dudes. All right,
do
go ahead.
you? Do you?
Oh yeah, I go. I got you. I got you.
Yeah, and so we were
I know a
married.
couple of them.
Yeah, we were married a year later. Long story short.
Shit.
hmm
Okay.
In '08, September of '08.
Okay. So you learn Spanish.
In more ways than one, yes.
In more ways than one. And a year later, you got married. Okay. So I'm assuming that, you guys did your thing, this and that.
hmm
Did your kids like them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
So you got married. So how long did that marriage last?
5 years and 3 days.
Okay. Now I'm assuming he's one of the ones who passed.
Yes. He was the first one
Okay.
that passed. Yes.
Okay. Before we get to that point, how was those 5 years with this man?
Um, they weren't perfect, but they were good. We didn't go without any issues. There were some there, but it was we were like we were like the chocolate vanilla ice cream cone. We just kind of mixed well.
I
Where
like
yeah, he was the high maintenance, city boy, Puerto Rican. I was the low maintenance country cowgirl, and we made it work. He
I
had more
like
shoes and
that.
hair products than I did.
Damn. Yeah, well, yeah. I know two of those type of guys. All right,
Yeah.
but all right. Unfortunately, five and a half years later, he passed away. Do you feel comfortable
Mm.
about what happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He had in 2012 he was diagnosed with Hep C. And then I think it was like around August of 2012, if I remember. And then December of 2012, he was diagnosed with liver tumors.
Oh, Jesus.
And
Damn.
then yeah.
Okay. All
Hmm.
right. So when you first heard the news about this, how was you like? How'd you guys like navigate through that? Like, how was you feeling at that time?
I was pretty. I didn't have time to feel. It was a matter of just making sure that he was good, he was taken care of. I went to every doctor's appointment, every lab work, every procedure. I had a spreadsheet of all his medications, what they were, what the dose was, who prescribed it, what it was for, what the side effects were. I still have it. At one point in time, he's on 26 different medications daily.
So
And
at
so,
so we gonna get to the event. So
uh-huh,
the days or the day he passed,
uh-huh.
like, was you there? Was you around or anything like that
I
happen?
wasn't. I had just gone home to take a short break because we had literally his last month of life we lived in the hospital.
Early.
And then also my youngest daughter was 2 at the time.
So you had your youngest daughter with him.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah.
That's
And so
crazy.
kind of
All
going
right.
back, my mom was in town. She was helping me take care of my daughter. So while we were kind of going back and forth because we knew that it wasn't going to be long. But I had
Wow.
just gotten back. I just got home to take a break for a minute, and then I literally got a phone call and said, "Hey, you need to come back." And he had just passed right before I got there.
Oh my God. So at this time, I assume you had to deal with this, and you also had to explain it to your 2.5-year-old daughter.
Mhm.
How difficult was that, if you don't mind?
Um, it was hard because they were close. Yeah, they were pretty tight. They were. He was. That was the whole reason we got married. He looked at me one day and he goes, "I want a baby." I looked right back at him and said, "I want a family."
Okay.
And so yeah. But as time grew, he's always very present. He's always very you look at my daughter, you see him.
Yeah,
Everybody says she looks just like me, but no.
that's
Certain
him.
certain facial expressions. She's 14 now, but
Got it.
certain facial expressions she makes, she looks just like him. She acts just like she has his energy. When
That's
we
awesome.
met, I had to look at his birth certificate because I didn't believe how old he was. He just had so
How old
much
was he?
energy. He was shoot. He was 51 when he passed.
Yeah.
And we had been, yeah, so he was 46, 47-ish when we got together.
Mhm.
And you couldn't tell it. He had
Wow.
this energy about him, and he just had this thirst for life that just was incredible.
All right.
Mm.
So one last question about that one.
Mm.
When everything was said and done, he was laid to rest, and you're like you know dealing with your daughter and trying to get her through it.
Mm.
How was that? How was that first night without him?
Very quiet. I don't think I slept for like 3 days.
Really?
Mm. But
Oh my God.
yeah, but I knew, like I said, I can tell people today, I knew in my heart of hearts I did everything I absolutely could.
Damn.
Mm.
Well, Amber, I'm gonna tell the audience something I said before on my other episode. I'm gonna say it on this one. There are over 11.8 million widows in the United States.
I believe it.
Approximately 2,800 new widows. 2,800 new widows every day. The average age of a widow is 59. And I like to add this fact too. After COVID, widows climbed to a younger age between 30 and 49. That's over 49,000 new widows from COVID.
That's crazy.
That is absolutely insane.
And I believe it
So
because that's what COVID is what took out. Was it? It's been 3 years ago, 4 years ago that that took out number two. He recently he
no,
like yeah.
so that's the one. He passed away after your third husband.
Yeah.
Now you wasn't married to him. That was by common law.
Right.
Wow. Wow. When you heard that news, how'd you feel, and how did kids react as well?
I was honestly I was devastated for my kids. You know that it was a shock because I didn't hardly know he was. I heard that he was sick, but I didn't know how bad
Yeah.
because it was COVID and some other health related issues that he had a combination of everything. And no, I was devastated for my kids.
I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I am. That's yeah. Cause like trust me, we've all lost people during COVID. I can tell you
Mhm.
that now. Amber, so after you laid him to rest, how long was it? Oh, a matter of fact, like, did you? How long was it before you started seeing new people or dating new people to get to number four? How long was that process?
Um, I would say it was
A year.
about a year, roughly about a year. So he passed in September of 13, and
Mhm.
in December of that year, I'd made a decision to. I took those couple months to kind of I was trying to gain my bearings again at that point of
Yeah.
starting over. Now what? Now
Hmm.
what do I do? Now what do I, and now I've got, a toddler in the mix of it. And so I said to myself, this is my time. And I enrolled myself in culinary school.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Because what we
Hmm.
saw earlier, you're like a third generation chef now.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So you said it was like around a year. Did you date or see somebody before you met your husband? Like, was that him? When you saw the people before, did you meet
Oh,
somebody else before him?
before,
When you
yeah,
started
I dated a couple of people, I won't say lightheartedly. It wasn't nothing serious. There's
Yeah,
a few
yeah,
that kind of came and went that, they didn't last very long. I just, I didn't know what that looked like. I remember, thinking, okay, I'm 36, 37 years old. What does the average, you know, single dude my age, what does that look like?
yeah,
Yeah. What does that look like? What
yeah.
what are they even about now? And most of them have just gone through college, got their degree, and just now kind of
Mhm.
wanting to settle down and have a family and that sort of thing. Well, you know what? I've already had all my kids. I was done with the kind of the family thing. So I
Yeah.
thought. Um, so
Mm.
I'm like, man, that narrows my field tremendously.
I have a question to ask, but the first time you talked to someone else after your husband died, can you like describe to me how that felt?
Um, it was actually somebody that I had already known. It was one of my old high
Okay.
school buddies. That we kind of rekindled for a second. Um, and so it was nice to have a sense of familiarity. I knew that person.
Yeah.
I think that made it a little easier than just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, a stranger, what do I do? I actually felt comfortable with that person. I knew that person, we had a long ago history. So I think that
Okay.
made a little bit easier.
All right. Now, how did you meet husband number four?
In the online swamp.
Oh, online. Here we go. Now it begins.
I still just say to this day, and if he ever hears this, I promise you, my first words to him will be, he owes me Steve Harvey owes me $30.
Okay, why is that?
It was his dating website that I went on.
Okay. So I
Uh-huh.
guess this was not a good experience then.
It was not. If I know everybody said, well, I regret this, I regret that, or no, you shouldn't have regrets. If I could turn back time, I would undo that. I
Okay,
would most
how
definitely
long
undo
did
that.
this marriage last?
Just a touch over 3 years.
Okay. Do you remember why you got married to him in the first place?
Oh yeah, yeah, I remembered. I mean, he seemed compatible. He said all the right words. He had all the right facade. He had all the, seemed compatible. Seemed like he.
Mm, got it.
Keyword
All
seems.
right. Themes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to ask you a interesting question. It's up to you if you want to answer it now. I don't know how you're gonna take this. But it was asked to me.
Okay.
I'm a two-time divorcee and multiple failed relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask you the same question to me. Out of all your relationships and your marriages, right? But before we get on to the dating now stuff,
Mm-hmm.
have have you ever looked in the mirror
Mm-hmm.
now, or even at a certain point in your life, and looked at what did you do?
Absolutely.
Because
And
a lot of people don't do
don't do
that.
that. And that's where a lot of people mess up is even in, you know, number three, there's nothing wrong. We didn't ask for that. There was no animosity, that that didn't break. That broke us. We didn't ask for that. But in the sense that, I look back, the common denominator to all those is me. You know, whether, yes, I got married too young. That was my choice. Had I known better, I'd have made different choices. But that was ultimately my decision. Number
Got it.
two, I made that decision to stay. I made that decision to settle. I made that decision to put up with all that. And number three, that, like, again, that kind of wasn't our fault. But you know, I'd have gone back and done things maybe a little different. But
Mm,
there's things I would have navigated a little bit differently, I think. But number
mm.
four would have not happened.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, number four would have had I had that conversation with myself between three and four. Number four would have not happened.
Amber, I can tell you for me, I went back like last year. I started telling my own story on my own podcast, right?
Mm,
People was like, "Why do it? Put your own business out there and all this shit." It was therapy for me to talk about it,
yeah,
like each step of my life. And people was like, "Well, people gonna know everything about you. They might judge you." Like, dude, I'm not running for fucking politics and no shit like that. I don't give a shit who judges me. It doesn't matter to me.
right.
So I had to recently redo it, and I it's afterthoughts of everything I've done. I'm going to add new stuff to it. But basically, what I'm saying is like what I learned through all my shit is that you're right. I made my decisions, I
Uh-huh.
made the choices, and I had to take accountability for everything I've done.
Yeah.
And I did some shit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we'll get into the whole dating thing in a second, but because a lot of people say that men do this and men do that,
So do women.
and yeah, and I learned that the hard way. So I had to take accountability for my actions. But so, ladies and gentlemen, she's gonna tell us why, because she put it on TikTok as well. I love it. We message each other, this, that. We actually made fun about this.
Mm,
You feel that dating today is horrible.
it is.
And why do you feel after four marriages, three on paper, one commonwealth,
Mm.
and after everything you've learned and the dating you're doing now, why is it so horrible?
'Cause I'm a glutton for punishment, you know.
And why are you glutton for punishment?
Nah, you know, in all honesty, you look at my track record, you look at my history, and I should hate every male that walks this earth. Would
Mm-hmm.
have every right to, but I don't. I don't judge a man by my past experiences. I don't judge, 'cause everybody's different.
Yep.
Everybody's different. There's good, bad, and ugly in all cultures. And so I try my hardest not to bring my old stuff to the new table.
Got it.
Um,
That's kind of hard though. It's kind of
it is.
hard. I'm not
It
gonna
is.
lie. You,
It is.
I can tell you, it's
It
hard.
takes some deep. It takes some deep inner soul searching to bring up to put yourself in a place where you have to essentially just extract your emotions out of it. Um,
That's because I remember when I was dating. Thank God I don't do that shit anymore. From a man's side,
hmm
it's fucking brutal. And I did take it and bring it into every last one. But the main thing I had to realize is that I had to break that old person.
hmm
I was negative. I was a negative person. So guess what I was bringing? The same negative energy, and I was meeting the same negative people, right?
Right.
I had to break all that shit. And do you feel, I'm gonna ask you a question, do you feel that you have broken a lot of your old habits that
Yes.
brought into dating?
Very much so. And they weren't even, I won't say what you would think as bad habits. I had to learn to think very differently,
Okay.
because everything that I was taught growing up, everything that I knew, I had to take that all out of the picture because that's not the world. I had to learn to be okay with, it's okay to not have the perfect nuclear family,
Okay.
because you don't at the moment. You just got to learn to be you. When I learned to find myself and be okay with myself, that's one
Yeah.
of the things that COVID taught me was, you know, everything, all the energy that I was putting into somebody else or trying to put into
Mhm.
somebody else or to date somebody else, I stuck that back into me. I take myself out on dates. I take myself out to dinner. I go to the movies by myself. I do things, I'm okay with that. As
Okay.
who is it? Was it Ace Metaphor said the other day, all the good men and women are sitting at home on Netflix. Yep.
You
And
know what? But before I bring something up, I'm going to ask you a question, and don't take this personal, whatever.
sure.
What makes, because I hear a lot of people saying this, even guys. A lot of guys are saying that, but a lot of women are saying it. What makes you a good woman? Because a lot of
Um,
people say that
what makes me a good woman? Um, I take care of my
to you.
kid. Yeah, I take care of my kids.
Mhm.
I have goals. I have things that I want to achieve. I'm intelligent. I can hold a conversation. Um, I'm kind. I look out for others. I look out for my family. I look out for my friends. Uh, I think one of my bigger, stronger characters is I'm a great support. That's one of the things that number three taught me was, you know, I said I knew what he needed before he knew he needed it.
Mm. I think you wear your heart on your sleeve,
I do.
but I
I
think you
did.
hide it too.
I did.
But you hide it. You hide it.
Yeah, I did. It's not as bad as I used to, but yeah, I used to be very sensitive, and but not so much anymore. That's kind of calloused over quite a bit.
Okay. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to see if you agree with these. Since you say dating sucks today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're gonna go over. Look, it's gonna be real quick.
Okay.
Let's do the dating. Let's do the bad part. The dating don'ts, in your opinion. All right. I want you to tell me, is this true or not? Because maybe
Mm-hmm.
females can or males can say this is true. These are the dating don'ts. Okay. Dishonesty.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Putting pressure to be in a commitment early.
Yes. Don't do that.
Making assumptions. Assumptions.
Yeah, don't do that.
Overthinking things.
Yes. That's a hard one, but yes.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how you gonna feel about this, but I used to hate this shit. Talking about them yourself constantly, that person.
Yes.
I met some people when I was dating, just like you they'll never know. They'll never know you. They just talk about
Mm-hmm.
themselves,
Talk
right?
about themselves. Yeah, I've come across that too.
Being negative.
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay. Being late.
I think it depends on the reason. I think I'm a little more forgiving, like maybe like the first couple, I'll give you a couple of times to autocorrect, but if it's a constant habit,
I love it. Ghosting.
I'm kind of good at that myself, but okay.
Wait, you're good at it, or people done it to you, or you done it?
Both. 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 I've done it.
Who
Just because I didn't see
have,
another option of, I'm not going to waste my time.
have you done it more, or has that done it more to you?
I would say honestly, probably I've had it done to me more, but I'm getting pretty good at it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Playing games.
I just don't do it. I'm good at
Hmm.
Monopoly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think nobody's gonna monopoly like me because I'm like the king of that shit. But
Look,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Just saying.
did you know that Monopoly was
Uh,
actually invented by a woman?
really?
Mm-hmm.
I
Actually,
would.
I
How
learned that
would
today.
strategically? Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Last two. Rushing into sex.
Most definitely. I had to learn that pretty quickly too, but yeah.
Okay. Last one. The don'ts talk about exes.
Dear Jesus, yes.
Oh God, damn. Well, you kind of took that pretty good.
Hmm.
Have you talked? So when you met these guys, did you? So I assume they probably talked about the exes a lot.
The most recent, yeah,
Some of them.
some of them, or they would ask me about my exes, and that's a really big turnoff. Well, I mean, to the point where I had one that he would like rapid fire. We hadn't even met yet. We were just still talking on the phone,
Hmm.
and he would just rapid fire question after question after question, where he literally just mentally wore me out. I'm like, look, dude, this is not gonna work.
That's an ego thing. That's just son. He wants to be better than him. That's all that is.
And yeah, no, that literally, that's just thinking about that still just wears me out mentally.
Okay. The dating dudes is a very short list. Imagine that.
Hmm.
What do you think about communicate effectively.
Yes,
Okay. Being authentic
please.
from day one.
That is much better. Yes.
I know it's a lot of women have said, I've heard this, that their biggest turnoff on that one, on the turnoff side, a lot of guys, more than women, they like to put on this damn front of who are they're the best thing in the world. And as soon as you guys get close, or even after you get intimate, if 360.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been through that?
Mm. Oh yeah, there definitely been some legends in their own minds that
Okay.
yeah.
Show, showing respect.
Please do. That's simple. That's not hard.
Something I had to learn a couple years ago. Thank God I learned it. Listen actively,
Yeah. That's
because I'll tell you, I was a bad listener back in the day. I'm not gonna lie to you. Plan activities.
yeah. Because
Do you
that
want him
should
to do that more? Do you want him to do that more, or you want to be 50-50?
um at least 50-50. I mean, because that shows me that he's putting in effort. That he's willing to put in some effort into it as well.
Okay. How you feel about this one? Because this is a gray area with a lot of people. Take the initiative.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I kind of look for when I'm like approaching or have been approached by somebody new is how much initiative are they taking? How much are they investing in the conversation? How much are they investing in, you know, willingness to, take a next step? Yeah, I watch that. I look at that.
Okay. The last one is interesting. Be mindful of both your safeties when you're together.
Yes. Mhm.
Protective.
Mhm.
All right. Amber, I'm going to wind this down a little bit.
Okay.
But overall, right now, in your experience of dating today, have you given up on it? Are you still struggling with it? Or are you still gonna keep on driving forward? What's going on?
I think I've kind of taken a break for a moment. Um, most of my close friends say, "Hey, they'll come to you. Just stop it. They'll come to you." I'm like, I don't want a DoorDash driver.
Yeah, you messaged me about that shit. So that was kind of funny. I like that. I
Because
gotta
that's
like
that's
that.
the only way that because I'm in the house. My priorities are my daughter. She's 14. She's in junior high now, and she does
Mm,
things. She dances. She trap shoots. She does archery. She's active. So that takes up a lot of time.
okay.
And it's not like it's I'm not a single parent. I'm an only parent because there's nobody else to hey, can you take her for the weekend or no, that's not how not how I have a support system, yes, but um that's just not an option. So
Okay.
that takes up
All
a lot
right.
of my time. But yeah, I still I haven't lost all hope. He's out there somewhere. But
I that's the way I felt. Mine came by. I wasn't looking. We both weren't looking.
right.
We weren't even fucking looking, and it was like, thank God. Before I get into my little game with you,
Okay.
when you do get into a relationship, have you ever heard the 777 rule? The 777 rule. Have you heard that?
No, I'm not. I'm intrigued.
Okay. When you get into a relationship, and I just found this out and like a year or two ago. I'm doing this now. It actually really works.
Okay.
It says have a date every 7 days,
Okay.
right? Have a weekend getaway, just you and him, or whoever you want to be with,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to be politically correct. Have a weekend getaway every 7 weeks,
Fair.
and have a vacation alone every 7 months.
Okay.
The 777 rule, the 777 rule.
That
You
makes
like that?
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I never heard that rule before.
Hmm. I haven't either, but that has some creativity to it. That kind of gives you a measuring stick of yeah.
You like that?
Hmm. Yeah, I do.
See? All right, Amber, we're going to have some fun. You ready?
All right.
Come on, girl. You will love this shit.
Uh oh.
All right. I'm gonna give you. It's gonna be a nice little 10 questions.
Okay.
First one's real easy.
Okay.
What was your first legit job?
My first legit job was working at a Subway restaurant.
Really?
hmm
Okay.
I was
All right.
13.
All right. What?
hmm
Was it on the table?
No.
Paid up. Okay, man. Indiana must got some different rules out there. Okay. That
This is back in Ohio,
shit.
yeah, but yeah.
Oh,
hmm
are you from Ohio? You
I'm
born in Ohio?
originally, yeah, I'm originally from east side of Cincinnati. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What one word best describes you?
Oh,
Mm.
oh wow, adventurous.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna say that question for later. I got this one.
Oh,
Here go. What was your most humbling moment in your life so far?
oh, my most humbling, probably when my husband passed. Just all of the support that I had for family, friends, his family, his friends.
Hmm.
I really I felt a lot of love, felt a lot of support.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, damn. She went away. You'll be back. Don't worry about it. I get it out. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You get it out. You get it out. It's all. It does that every now and then.
hmm
Number four. This could be good. If you could learn one skill instantly, what would it be?
Uh, how to teleport.
Dang, you know what? That's actually cool. I can go here, go here. You know, I probably
Right.
can learn that skill too. I go around the fucking world.
Mm.
For real. For real. Ooh, here go one thing. All right. No, I don't like that one. All right, here we go. What moment in your life would you want to experience one more time?
Um, Probably my 30th birthday.
Why is that?
Because this was with number three. He actually went out of his way. He did something different the whole entire week. And
Right.
it was ranging from big to little, whether it was just a walk in the park one day, going out to dinner one day. One day we went to a Pacers game. I'd never been to a Pacers game before.
Okay.
It was just very thought out, very, very intentional, very, yeah, that was, I really felt on top of the world.
Okay. All right. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Um, Probably roasted turtle.
Oh, it's fucking nasty. Oh shit.
Look,
Okay.
no, look, huh, no. When it's done right, it's like dark meat chicken.
Mm, mm,
Don't look at me
mm,
like that. You
mm,
had to take a drink on that one.
mm. For real, for real, for real.
You
That
had
was
to take a
crazy.
drink on that one.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my iced tea there. The drink will come later.
hmm
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, would you rather have 20 hobbies or one single passion?
20 hobbies or what?
One single passion.
One single passion. 20 hobbies, I'm
Uh,
gonna drive myself nuts.
all right. We will ask you two more.
Okay.
What's a hidden talent no one knows about you?
Um, no one knows about. Well, not too many people know about my love of the equestrian world. Because most people around me know me as the cook, as the chef, as the mom. They
Mm-hmm.
really don't know about the whole horse world thing.
Oh, daddy. Well, I guess what? Now they do now.
I don't know.
Have you ever had celebrity crush and who is it?
Yes, had a couple of them.
Only one now.
Just one.
Just one.
My celebrity crush would be Tyler Perry.
Ew. Ew.
Stop.
That's a
Look,
first. Mm. Mm. Mm.
my second would be
Man.
Shamar Moore, but okay.
Oh god. You know, if I hear that fucking name one more time. Anyway, well, it's either him or what's the other guy? Boris somebody.
Uh,
Boris. You know, he's like big, tall, good looking. Whatever. Fuck is that?
right.
Anyway, Amber, I'll give everybody the last word. After everything you've been through, 4 marriages, dating, life itself, being a mom, ups and downs. If there's a woman out there, or maybe a guy, that's kind of similar to your story, what's the
Hmm.
best advice you can give that person today? Because I'm telling you right now, I guarantee somebody's gonna see this and they're gonna say, "Damn, I went through the same shit." And or she might be going through this, or he might be going through this. What's the best advice you can give that person or people?
Be yourself. Love yourself.
That's it. I
That's
love it.
it.
Just
Love
straight to the
yourself.
point.
And you can love anybody, whether it's a partner, whether it's family, your kids, all that. But first, you have to love you. You have to have your love tank full. Love yourself. It is okay to be selfish in that, to do things for yourself. Take care of yourself. Do the things you love. You want to go get your hair done? Go get your hair done. You want to go to a movie by
Mm-hmm.
yourself? Go to a movie. Do it by yourself. Do it. That one thing it's on your bucket list, go do it. Life is short. You know.
And trust me. I probably got that when I was 50, and because I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, for many years I did not love myself. I didn't, and I was like, it's all my story, shit like that. But like stuff I'm gonna go bring out in the future. I had to
Mm-hmm.
really love myself to make myself a better person.
Absolutely.
But Amber, thank you so much for
Mm-hmm.
coming on today. You
Well,
made this
thanks for
very,
having me.
very.
It's been fun. It's been
This has
fun.
been very interesting with you. Don't go anywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for another episode next week on Let's Talk About It. And everybody who's watching on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, comment. People listening on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, please check this out. Give us a like, subscription, 5-star, because you're going to love this young lady. She's very, very passionate and her love for horses. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week on Let's Talk About It. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned next week for another exciting episode on Let's Talk About It.